Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the BytesBurn podcasts, and we're your hosts, Idris, Lawal, and Stacey, Onuora. Today, we come up with some of the buzzing topics around of tech, and we'll be looking at the new battle between OpenAI and Anthropic in terms of market dominance. Both AI companies have been going head to head in terms of providing us with the latest and the best models out there. A few weeks back, Anthropic released their Fable 5, which everyone believed was like peak intelligence, so great, so wonderful that even the US government had to ban non-US citizens from using it out of sheer trying to protect whatever. And today we've seen that OpenAI has also released their own models, their suite of GPT5.6 models, Terra, and then there's also Soul. And on general benchmarks around the world, we've seen that Fable 5 and GPT 5.6 Soul are actually pretty close, with a lot of even statistical benchmarks putting GPT 5.6 slightly ahead of Fable 5. And it's just an interesting time with all of this mix of competition happening in the AI space, and everyone is trying to battle for that that market share. Fable 5 by Anthropic was supposed to be pulled off from the general subscription by on the 12th of this month, but they had to extend it when 5.6 came out, and maybe out of trying to still ensure that they still have the user base and all, they extended it onto on the 18th to before they take it into a separate subscription of its own, because the company is looking to price it separately. But in recent times, we've seen that OpenAI is responding with their own latest models, and 5.6 Soul is really in terms of the bench, if you look at the benchmarks, it's quite close and much cheaper, like half the price of the Fable 5. Stacey, which of this models do you use, and how do you see this playing out in terms of AI dominance, AI market share, basically?
So to be honest, I don't want to pick sides. I think
We love the competition, yeah.
yeah, I love a healthy competition, right? And it's interesting to see that, at the end of the day, the Fable 5 was taken out, it came back, and there was like something else that's, another agent that came out that's seeing that, okay, even if one agent goes up the market, there's another one that can compete with regards to, the level of how much they can do or how much can be achieved using those models. So I'm a big advocate of that, to be honest. So we don't solely depend on, one agent, right? So yeah, I think I'm like, in terms of capacity, I'm looking at the 5.6 and seeing what it has to offer. To an extent, we're already seeing what Fable 5 can do, but with the new release of 5.6, we're still looking out for how much more, how much better it can be. Like you already mentioned, there are benchmarks that available, and obviously the 5.6 is basically not, it's, the difference isn't huge, but basically what we have currently shows that is currently better than the Fable 5. And that could have been because it was taken off, maybe something was on behind the scenes to tone it down a bit, allegedly, right? And then it being brought back. So yeah, I'm here for all of it, to be honest.
And it's pretty interesting if you also consider the fact that OpenAI and Anthropic are probably the biggest, vendors for these LLMs in the world right now, but there are still stiff competition, elsewhere across the globe. If you look over in China, there is a lot of new models that are coming out that are really good. And some of the latest models are like Kimi K3. It's been making the buzz all over the internet as to how close it is, to the Fable 5. And this is even an open weight model, so it's no longer one company having all the piece of the pie. When OpenAI released ChatGPT the first time, it was basically the first time that a lot of us are having that connection to what is possible in AI. And ever since then, it's been a mad race, across the industry, everyone trying to build and outbuild the next person. And I think Anthropic pulling Fable 5, based off of the US government regulation, sort of like hurt their brand a bit, because people who rely on some of these things would begin to start looking for alternatives. So definitely you don't want to be tied to one model and then it gets yanked off and you have to source your intelligence elsewhere, as they say. So it's an interesting time for large language models. And I don't think this is like I do mention, this is not the peak. Just the other day I was listening to Jan LeCun, the one of the top researchers in the world in terms of artificial intelligence. So where he was basically talking about the fact that he is working on something called world models. I think that's what he called it. The idea basically is that you need AIs that can understand the natural world, and language is just like a small part of the world. There's a lot more stuff that happens outside of just human language, and this is a new area of research that is going on. So definitely we'll see more advancements coming from these AI companies. And it would who will be the market leader is not set in stone right now.
Yeah, so we're looking out for the strategies that this big companies are using to acquire the customer base and just world dominance generally. So stay tuned to the BytesBurn podcast to get more information about tech generally and hearing our perspectives around it. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below.